thing called tuna sashimi. 3, 2, 1.
Hello guys, Tunia back again. Well, thought I'd do a review of a game I've really enjoyed lately, and this is Wild Dogs on the PC. It is out on Xbox, Xbox S, Xbox One, PS4, PS5 and Switch, so you can pretty much get it on anything these days. This is a Game Boy inspired Contra game, essentially. It's got very Game Boy sort of aesthetics and graphics to it, and it is literally a Contra game. It's made by Second Boss, who's made a few games like this in the past. I have sort of had a look at their old games and picked them up, but I think this is probably the best game they've done, to be honest. The old games are very similar, so I'll just show you what options you got. There's not much in the way of options. You can have full screen, no VSync on. You got some filters you can use. You can have the curved. I don't like that. It's the bluey look. It's pretty bad. Same with that as well. I don't like that. So we're just going to go with the smooth. Bilinear is awful. And you've got the pixel perfect. So that seems to work perfect. With a sound adjust, you can auto weapon switch. Screen shake is on by default. I turn it off. Not a big fan of screen shake. And you can change your controllers and stuff. So pretty simple options. They do the job. So let's get into it. I say I'm playing this on an arcade cab. You can play it on a pad. It does work quite nice on an arcade cab. Actually, you just need 4 buttons. Simple as that. You do get free save slots. As you can see, I've played through the game a couple of times and I've changed save slots. On a good go, the game roughly takes, as you can see, hour and 35 minutes, hour and 40 minutes to go through. I reckon I could probably speed that up if I tried speed running it and probably get it down to about an hour and 15 possibly. Because I do it. I try to go for scores, so I've done a little bit of hogging. They're quite clever about the hogging as well. You can only score a certain amount of points on a level by killing enemies. After you've killed so many enemies, they stop giving you points. So you can't just sit there and let the time run down and hog points. Clever move. That's all I can say. On this one, you can keep what you can do once you've got the save state up. You've got this your save slot. You can go back to it. So we'll click on it. You can go back to it, and you can try each level again and try and better your score. I got my high score on this just by doing a single run on it. What I should do is go back to these levels and see if I can up my score on it. You can only get a certain amount of points for killing enemies. You can get points for killing bosses. I think there's a time bonus, and you get a bonus for not getting hit. So managing to do each of the levels without getting hit, I haven't managed to do that yet. I've come very close to it, so I don't know what high score or bonus you get at the end for a non-hit bonus. As you can see, there's 5 levels. It's like I said, game takes hour and 40 minutes to go through. 5 different levels. Levels are quite long. The levels have multiple bosses as well, and a big boss at the end. And I'm not going to tell you too much about the levels because there's some cool things later on. I just want to let you have a look at it. So don't look at my 1cc if you haven't played it. So we'll start. So you get to control Frank Pumpkinhead Williams, which is the main guy in it, and his dog Teddy. and they're going up against the alien forces which have invaded Earth, and you're pretty much the last resort, apart from the bio project, which I think is a reference back to the earlier games, because they've got a game that was in a biolab, I think, one of the early ones, where you got like horror characters. So the games are sort of tied to each other, I think. But I don't know that much about their older games really to sort of see if that is actually the case. So you're sent in, and you basically just got to go and kick ass, kill all the aliens and win. So there he is. So your basic controls, you got your guy, which is like Contra. You can hold down a button which allows you to stand still and fire in 8 directions. You got your normal fire. You can fire in all directions you want. You can't fire directly down unless you jump. Very much a Contra. Can you fire straight down a Contra? You might be able to, I'm not sure. And you can weapon switch. You could hold 2 different weapons at once. You get 3 lives. At the beginning, there was no continues. It was 3 lives, and you had to play through it. And they've added continues in now, so you can play through if you want. You basically got your fire and jump, so you basically run through the levels, Contra style, run and gun in, and firing at enemies. You get weapon pickups, very much like Contra as well. So if I pick up that, I got the spread shot. So the spread shot's really good, like in Contra. As you can see, there's enemies continuously running at me, and you get 150 points per enemy. After probably 30 seconds, no enemies will start giving you points anymore, so you can't hog. You've also got a double jump, so you can jump in the air and fire down different directions. And the idea is pretty much just run your gun your way through the levels and do all the bosses and go through the game. What I found is you can hold 2 different weapons at once. Like if I switch, I can go back to the standard weapon and switch back to the 5-way. What I've found is when you pick up the different weapons, to give yourself that little extra bit of power. It's not much, it's just a little extra bit of power, and the rest of the killing is basically keep swapping weapons continuously with your finger. Or you can hold down, you can get an auto-fire set and just get it to continuously swap between it. Like if I do that, so they'll just swap between it now. And this is how I've played through and got the scores. You can do it without auto-fire just by tapping it. What I found is the homing shot and the spread weapon is fantastic. It just gives you that extra bit of homing in on enemies and the spread to kill anything. Including there's also a grenade weapon, which is short range, which is highly powerful, and there's a boomerang weapon as well, which is also very good for killing bosses. In fact, probably the boomerang weapon is one of the best weapons combined with the spread shot for killing bosses. The other thing I want to mention as well, now there's no enemies running at me, because it's Game Boy looking, you can change the colour filters like you could on like the Super Game Boy. So you can run through different colour filters. Some of them are quite like almost like that. That's like the original Game Boy in it, essentially. So basically there's loads of colour filters. So you can basically swap back and forth, pick the ones you want. I end up swapping in between the colours quite often. I quite like the darker ones other than the brighter ones like that. So it's quite cool. You can basically just swap between all these different colours. That's like a CGA sort of palette, isn't it? So there's definitely something here you pick you're gonna like. There's a nice purple one here somewhere. Could be that one. Let's pick something random. Let's go with that freaky one. So this is the first of the multi-bosses that are on each level. This game is not just run and gunning either, there is flying levels on here as well, as you'll see soon. So each of the bosses have got specific attacks as well, so you can learn the bosses. And you can learn better ways of killing them fast. Right in the middle of here. Maybe slightly out. No, I killed him fast. You don't get much extra in the way of killing power for the bosses doing the switch, but it is just that little extra bit. It's definitely well worth doing. You could do this in Contra as well. So there is flying levels as well, which you'll see now, and there's a helicopter level coming up, so we'll get to that. There's bosses in the flying levels as well, Whee. I say this game's quite fast paced. You can do a runner through it. Then later on there are enemies that you will need to sort of take your time a little bit on. But even them, there are ways of being risky and jumping through the levels with the enemies later on. So let's get in the helicopter. Let's check this guy out. So I really like the graphics of this game. Also shout out to the music as well. The music's really good in this game. Keeps you going. The music's very nicely done. You also got, I forgot to mention, you do have an energy bar as well, and you get energy back when you get hit. You can take 5 hits before you die. It's the same in the flying levels as well. There's 5 hits in the flying levels and then you lose a life. But every now and then what this game will do is chuck a load of enemies at you, and you'll go through sections of the games, and then it'll give you a health. So it's quite generous on the healths, to be honest. And if you take your time and get good at it, you know, you could probably end up doing this without dying, and without getting hit as well. That is possible. This entire game. The playability on flying levels is a bit floaty. Like, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I'll collect that health, even though I don't need it. In the demo, the playability on the flying levels was really floaty. I did mention it to the developers. So if I move and let go, and then move and let go, you can see there's a bit of momentum to it. That's the only sort of downside I would say to this, is the momentum in the flying levels. But you do get used to it, to be honest. It doesn't take much to get used to it. Just got to do a lot of tapping, essentially. It's the same as you can learn the bosses in the run and gun levels as well. They've all got their tactics. The same with the flying bosses as well. There is quick ways of killing the flying bosses if you know how to do it. Like, I'll try and do the quick kill on this thing. You might be able to be killed even quicker, I don't know, but I'll try it. So each enemy gives you different points as well. So if you are going for score, you want to try and kill everything on the level, or definitely miss out lower point enemies for the higher point enemies. So basically, if you go really close to this, and then do the dodge, which I'm doing a terrible job at the moment, you can quick kill that boss like that. You will end up killing him at this point, and then it'll chuck you back to the side-scrolling levels. So we're back. So the playability on this bit is really good. With the double jump in, really tight controls, to be honest, very tight controls indeed. And you can do directions, you can jump and shoot in directions. It plays really good. The dog doesn't just follow you either. Teddy does have his own levels later on. There's levels where he runs around doing switches for starters, and there's other levels which I'm not going to tell you about because I want you to get to them yourself. So basically you end up playing Frank through, I don't know, 2/3 of the game, and then you end up playing the dog for the rest of the game. So this is an interesting weapon, this one. So I'm going to pick this up. It's a boomerang weapon. This is when you combine it with the swap, this weapon's super powered. It basically will destroy bosses really fast. We'll get to a little sub boss now in a minute, and I'll show you what I mean. Good thing about this, I like the way the sub bosses, they are learnable, so you can get really good at this game. Like I say, I reckon I could knock maybe 15-20 minutes off my run of this if I was to speed run it. But they say there are enemies later on that will require you to stop. There's one enemy, it's like a tank enemy that chucks like a grenade at you. What you'll learn later on is you can actually run through that grenade. It only hurts you once it hits on the floor. So basically this guy will jump at you where you stand, so you move a direction, and then you get in close. And as you'll see now, this boomerang weapon will just basically melt it. So we'll chuck another grenade, stay here, you'll jump by here, jump over here, stay over here, and basically melt him. So this is a nice combination, but I quite like the homing combination, just because it homes in on the enemies, kills enemies that are slightly out of reach. It's got some really varied and interesting levels as well, which is really cool. when I first played this, I thought that the dog would be a little bit like Shadow Dancer, where you could set the dog on things, but that's not how Teddy works, baby. Teddy's a whole new beast altogether. You can also pick up energy in the levels to refill your energy bar. So guys, let's get to a bit where no more there's certain sections where enemies don't run at you again. Like these ones just continuously run at me at this bit. I shouldn't get any more enemies though. So, what would I say about this game? I really like the graphics. I like the way you can change the colour filters to suit whatever you want. I really like the Game Boy look. I'm not really fussed on the other filters you get, the screen filters. I think it plays really well. If you like Contra, this is probably going to be the game for you. It's well worth picking up. I really like the music on this game. There's some really cool things and interesting stuff that happen later on in the game, which I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to tell you what they are. It's really nicely put together as well. Overall, it's a really good package. It's a really nice game. The only thing, if I had something that I didn't like so much about it, I would say is the momentum in the flying levels. It would have been nicer if they didn't have any, but I see what they were going for. And to be honest, you do get used to it pretty quick, and you can do them without getting hit. Pretty much every level on this game could be done without getting hit, except for on the flying levels. You do end up on a boss that does kill you at the end and chucks you down, but I don't think that doesn't obviously count towards your no-hit bonus in this game. There's plenty of time to go in there. For the levels, you can take your time. Like, I'm going to die now, because as I'm saying now, the time runs out. Also, I'll get no time bonus, basically, now the time has run out. I've never actually let it run out before. I thought you actually died. Obviously not. So you'll get no time bonus for doing the levels now, because it's gone. So, I don't know, maybe... I haven't actually tried doing a speed run instead of trying to hog points. Maybe speed running it, you'll get more points. I don't know, I'll have to try that out, actually. I'll have to try, see if I can get a speed run of it and try and do it really fast. Yeah, so it is a really good game. I really like it. I say, if you like the Contra games, I think you're probably going to love this. It's not expensive either. I think I paid about 10 roughly like that. I'm not sure how much it is on the consoles. Mine, maybe it's probably not going to be much more than around that price, I would say. Yeah, so would I recommend this game? I would definitely recommend this game. It's really good. I've really had good fun with it. I was thinking of giving it an 8.5 out of 10, but gotta be honest, I think I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's really good, and out of all the run and gun Contra games that have come out lately, I think I've gelled with this one more than the rest of them, which is quite shocking to say, because there's been some good ones the last couple of years, but I think I like this one the best. So yeah, this is definitely well recommended. Wild Dogs is definitely well worth picking up. Like I say, it's not really expensive. It's on the cheaper side, and I think they did a really good job of it. What I've done after playing this is I've gone back and looked at their older games they've done, and they're very similar run and gun type games, but I think this is definitely the best game they've done from what I've tried. So I ended up going back and buying their older games, because they were only about like 3-4 quid on Steam, so I ended up buying them. So I need to go through some of them. Some of their older games are completely different looking, but the dog is in their older games as well. So I think that some of the games are tied in. But I haven't seen Frank, so I think some of the games are tied in together. So where they mentioned the Bio project, like I said at the beginning, that it's probably sitting back to the horror sort of shooter they did like this. So yeah, Wild Dogs, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review, and this is definitely well worth picking up. Definitely Tuna gives it a recommendation, I would say. So cheers for that, and I'll catch you on the next review.